So in my eyes, I think the technology China has got the rest of the world pretty much beat. A lot of my favorite things, such as DJI drones, China. A lot of the cutting-edge electronic technology is coming straight out of Shenzhen and places like that. You've got DJI. Although I don't really like their phones, Huawei phones are bamming out things. And there's always going back to the competitive edge with China producing cheaper electronic brands. Like, you don't even have to go for expensive brands. You can find an expensive foreign brand, and then there's guaranteed a Chinese equivalent that someone has made. And it is fantastic. Since being in China, I've found that the whole society here is just a lot more, seems a lot more to me, a lot more technologically advanced. Now, a lot of the stuff may come from the outside, but they incorporate it into daily life a lot better than anywhere else. Like, when you go back to England, it feels pretty, like, old school, because you still have to pay for stuff with cash and cards. Like, here in China, I pay for everything with my phone. I never use cash, I never use cards, or I do, but on a very rare occasion. I think the society here, everything is just done with your phone, with some kind of piece of technology. Everything just feels like the future. It doesn't feel so old school, like when I go back to England or go back to Europe. It was like, it just feels more technologically advanced. And I think that China just does fantastically with technology because they just accept it and they integrate it a lot better.
No, we can't allow Chinese Huawei in because that's 5G. They could spy on us. Yeah, but Americans want, if they developed it, they want everybody else to have it. And what do you think the Americans would do with the technology? Would they spy on Canada, the UK? Would they spy on all of the countries that they could spy on? Of course they would. They've been caught doing that. Warmongering, yes, they've started and been in more wars than you can shake your stick at.
Did somebody say oil?
Did I say your stick?
That's what she said.
Sorry, but that's just the way it is. In China, well, they sort of just put their heads down, work harder, try to educate their population and bring them out of poverty, try to make the lives better for their people. But the West doesn't see that. Why? Because the mainstream media doesn't allow it. The main street media tells all of the bad things about China.
I think here, though, it's also important to remember that although in the West the media is very corrupt and it does report exactly what political parties and certain agendas are always being pushed, but then the same with China. And in fact, in China, you don't have access to the outside media. You don't have access to stuff which is coming from outside of China because they cut it off. They cut off YouTube, they cut off Facebook, they cut off Google. And why do you think they do that? I mean, the reason is because, well, the stated reason is because they want it to help China's internal economy. And I get that, that's pretty cool. But also, it doesn't let people have an outside view, because if you start looking over the fence and seeing other things are different, maybe you'll start liking things, or you know, the grass is always greener. So they do control the media here, like, insanely well, and they cut down everything from WeChats to Weibo's to anything that they don't want on there, and control it, I would say, worse than in the West. I'm not saying the West isn't corrupt, the media is awful in the West. Everywhere is pushing a political agenda, and I guess China and America do it, but yeah, I think for me, it's just allies taking tit for, not allies, for me, it's just two countries tit for tatting each other all the time.
If it wasn't so malicious in nature, it would be humorous, but as the States has done in the past, they do a media campaign against the country, they make it look bad to the American people, and then they try to screw with their economy. They bolster dissent like they do in Hong Kong and Taiwan against that country, and hope that with their help that the country will fall to its knees. China ain't falling to its knees. I can guarantee you that. This place is as strong as it's ever been and growing as fast as it's ever grown. And they're not scared of the Americans. They're not scared of what's being said in the news. They basically ignore it, and because it's alien to them. They don't care. Most Chinese people don't look at Western news. Yeah, because they don't have a VPN. So the United States is infatuated with the idea of blackening the reputation of China, blackening the reputation of the people, the country, the economy, their strides forward, and yeah, so is that politically correct? Absolutely not. It's not politically correct, and but it's the new norm in the West, not being politically correct. I can understand it back in the 1800s and 1900s, early 1900s, when there was no internet. People were naive to racism, to discrimination against people. But hey, guys, we're in the 21st century here, and the world is different, and our leaders should have a better quality of character than to discriminate against a country, a people, and because of who they are. This country is never going to be like the West. This country is different, and Corey will be able to acknowledge that. That's one thing that I'm sure that we're going to agree on.
Oh no, I 100% agree that this country is different, and that's what makes it so special, and that's what attracted me to China in the first place. I actually got offered, get this, I got offered a job in Canada, and I was all set to go to Canada because it was going to be near one of the mountain ranges, not far from Banff or Whistler, I think, if I remember correctly, and I was like, yeah, I can go snowboarding, but the job wasn't that great, and then I got offered this job in China, and my thought process on taking a job in China over the job in Canada was China's going to be so far different from anywhere in the West, whereas if I get the job in Canada, it will be pretty much the same lifestyle as in England. The only difference will be there's a slight different accent, and maybe the surroundings are different. Like other than that, life won't be a whole lot different because culturally we're almost exactly the same. Where I chose to come to China because it was culturally and actually physically completely different. And I try and explain this to other people back home, and you never can really convey it fully because until you've actually lived in China, you'll never know exactly how different it is. And it's one of those countries where it's not for everyone. So I always find that China is basically like Marmite. I don't know if you get that reference. You either love it or you hate it. Some people come here like me, and on my third day here, I was like, I love this place, and this is where I'm settling down now. Almost 7 years later, I'm still here and still loving it. And other people come here, and within the first month, they bail because they just can't take the difference. So you're right, China is 100% nothing like the West, and you can never take principles and values, most of them that you bring coming from a Western background, and apply them in China, because a lot of the time they just don't work. It just doesn't carry over here. It's it. You have to learn to adapt, or you either sink or swim. I think that's the easiest way to put it.
But this country is different, and it's amazing, and it's growing, and the people are getting better lives. The government actually works here, where I don't see it working in the Western world very much. See, as I'm taping here, we got a bunch of police officers behind me, and they leave me alone. Why? Because I'm not hurting anybody. The totalitarian idea of China is a bunch of bullshit. You can go and do what you want, where you want, and people, the authorities are pretty easy on everybody. I've seen old ladies kick cops in the knee so they don't have to get a ticket, or fighting with them and yelling and screaming at them. In the States or in Canada, they put you on the ground, put you in handcuffs, and arrest your ass. Here, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I find on the whole, your average everyday on the street policeman usually gets about as much respect, commands about as much respect as a Burger King worker here. People don't really have the same respect because the police are a lot more lenient, and I find that they half the time there's so many police they can't police them all. So things are kind of much more relaxed with the police here, and on the whole, I've had a pretty decent experience with the police. I've never had anything bad to say about any of the policemen. You do see, like you said, people that old ladies that will fight with the police when they've been told to stop on their e-bike and they don't feel that they have to. But on the whole, the police here are pretty fair. You don't ever want to get like the high-level riot-looking police. They look scary as hell, and I doubt you would ever want to mess with them. They just look scary. They bring this whole new level of scariness to it. But yeah, generally on the whole here, I find the police are pretty nice, pretty lenient, and usually pretty helpful. So it works in your favor being a foreigner here as well.
When did it become politically correct in the West to be anti-Chinese? Well, it became politically correct in the mid-19th century, and it stayed that way for 100 and some years, until they got rid of the head taxes and the exclusion acts and all of that other stuff. And then it went away for a while. And then it reared its ugly head again when Donald Trump became president of the United States. And it's still there today, not just in the United States, but other places in the world. Canada has, for immigration purposes, has language requirements, not based on India. They speak English. Not based on any Anglo-Saxon country. They speak English. The European Union, it's basically targeting the Chinese people. So Canada is discriminating against China, just like the United States. So when did it become politically correct to be anti-Chinese? It's always been politically correct to be anti-Chinese. It's just floated. It's just come to the forefront here over the last 3 years with the trade wars, with the tariffs, with the anti-Chinese rhetoric on the media, with the leaders of the countries being bigots, racists, and discriminating against a whole race of people.
Well, yeah, like I said, I think this isn't just a China-based thing. I think this is every country does it. At the minute, it's just that China is more in everybody's minds because, you know, it's developing so fast. And, you know, it's the same as when someone becomes famous, like a pop singer, suddenly there become all these rumors and backstory. It's like because now they're in the public eye and they've got a lot more attention on them, they're suddenly getting all this stuff come up. And I think it's the same with this. I think China can be as bad as the West, and the West can be, it's like tit for tat. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the new world of racism's okay if it helps your economy. And that's another video from Gweilo60. If you like this video, as always, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button, and thanks for watching. Hit the bell. Don't forget to hit the bell. Don't be a bot.
So yeah, thank you for watching this video, guys. If you liked it, hit that like button. If you didn't, hit that dislike button twice. Hit me up with some comments down below. What did you think? Have you been over and you've watched the first half of this on Gweilo's channel? If you haven't, you should have done that first, but go back and watch it in reverse order now. And as always, guys, until next time, bye-bye.